Pardon the wrestling, but I am Bryan, and is WWE scared of AEW? Let's talk about it. So if you've been missing out on the drama of WWE and AEW over the last year, AEW would usually announce a pay-per-view event to happen during a specific weekend, and then the big joke would be well, now we know WWE is planning an NXT event that weekend in, say, September, just because they typically have been counter-programming AEW shows with NXT, PLEs, Saturday night's main event. We know that All In had a lot of moving around back a few months ago because All In was going to initially take place during the evening, and then they announced the Saturday night's main event, so then AEW pushed it to the afternoon, and then WWE counter-programmed that again with the Nothing Happened NXT show. But like I said, this is nothing new for WWE to do, but it's just one of those competitive things that WWE wants to do. They want to shift the conversation, if you will. So what happened recently, as you can see on screen, this particular article does come from WrestlingObserver.com, but it's by way of Post Wrestling because they had the initial breaking report of AEW getting counter-programmed once again. However, this time it's a bigger story because usually, as we already mentioned, it's an NXT premium live event. It's Saturday night's main event. But this time, it's actually a main roster PLE that WWE is counter-programming All Out with. There's a little more to the story too, but let's just go through the article real quick if you have not caught up on the weekend's news with this counter-programming. WWE is planning a big main event for its yet-to-be-announced September PLE. So I guess before we jump into that, when WWE gave ESPN the rights for their PLEs in 2026, the idea was that they're going to get 10 events spread out over 12 nights. And of course, that's 10 premium live events, and then you have the 2-night SummerSlam, 2-night WrestleMania. Same thing as what this year was supposed to be. There wasn't anything scheduled for the month of September in regards to a premium live event, pay-per-view. However, that's obviously changed because now WWE is going to have a main roster PLE on September 20th, the same day as AEW All Out. Right now, it's believed to be going down in Indianapolis, Indiana. I don't know if it's going to be at the Lucas Oil Stadium. That might be too big, so maybe like the Conseco Fieldhouse or whatever the Pacers call home these days. But as already noted, AEW All Out will be in Toronto that day. And right now we are in the belief that's going to be the reunion of the former Edge and Christian, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, as they're slowly building towards that reunion for All Out and a possible clash with FTR. But again, we're about 6 weeks ahead of schedule on that note. But Alvarez and Meltzer went through the whole situation on their show. But here's the big news about this. As we all know, at SummerSlam, we had the very controversial return of Brock Lesnar. Now, my thoughts aside on that whole situation, it's a big news story when it comes to wrestling and the booking of WWE shows going forward. We know that Brock will not be in Paris coming up here in a couple weeks, but right now the idea is to do that Cena-Lesnar rematch on September 20th. So their WWE's plan here is not to only counter-program AEW, but to have a huge main attraction match as a part of the headline for WWE's show that weekend. Now, is this going to be another Bad Blood? We don't know. I mean, I guess the branding marketing of the actual event is irrelevant. What is relevant is the actual date and what WWE is planning to do that day. Now, I don't think All Out has an official time, and if they do, I don't think the WWE Premium Live event has an official start time yet. I would imagine they're probably going to do the 8 Eastern, 7 Central deal to go directly competing against All Out that weekend. I mean, they're doing it that day specifically for a reason. We'll see if AEW adjusts to this, if they're going to do the same thing they did with All In and move it to the afternoon. At this point, if I'm AEW, I wouldn't do that. I would be like, all right, let's go head first into this. But this is, again, WWE just on paper showing that AEW is a thorn in their side, that this is a company that is attracting their attention and not in a good way. And yes, their competition is good for everybody. It's made WWE better, it's made AEW better, and it's made it better for everyone involved when it comes to wrestling, backstage, everything involved, because You're seeing talent get paid more. You're seeing shows have a purpose because they want to have the better show, which is awesome, and that's great for everybody involved. This, however, just reeks of they're trying to bully their way into this situation. This is in my opinion, just nothing but bad optics from WWE, because anyone that's going to spend their time and money paying for an AEW pay-per-view is not going to be persuaded to say, you know what, I'm not interested in that. I want to watch what Peacock's offering that day. And you might get a few people to do that. Obviously, you're going to have what's going to cost $50 here in the States versus whatever Peacock's monthly cost is. I think it's about $10 a month. So there's obviously the cost benefits there with that. And you may have someone say, you know what, I'm going to watch Brock versus Cena that night. To me, that strikes me as more important. Now, again, I don't think anyone that is going to be spending that $50 to watch All Out is going to be interested in Cena versus Lesnar in 2025, especially knowing all of the controversy surrounding Lesnar, and especially knowing how lackluster Cena's last year in WWE has been, save for his match with Cody, which was phenomenal. If you have not watched that match at SummerSlam, go out of your way to do so. But so what is WWE doing? Because they have to know that people are going to spend money on pay-per-view from AEW. It's not going to go out of their way to watch WWE that weekend. So this is more of in my eyes, a way to shift the narrative from talking about AEW that weekend to talking about WWE. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. I really don't, because the way it looks to me is it's shifting focus to why is WWE doing this, and you're going to have people like me comment on this, that WWE's counter-programming AEW. People may not know that AEW has something going on that weekend. They might now because this conversation is talking about this. I don't think this is a beneficial thing for AEW, or excuse me, for WWE to do for that reason and that reason alone. This is something that screams pettiness, and whether it's going to benefit them in the long run, I don't know. As we know with the NXT show during All In weekend, it didn't matter. AEW had one of its best buy rates that week for their entire company's history. And despite them having to move the show around, and despite competing directly against WWE, it still didn't affect them. Granted, it wasn't a main roster pay-per-view against them. This is going to be a different story. We have seen both sides have success against each other when it came to Dynamite versus NXT a few years back when NXT was still on Wednesdays. So I'm very interested to see how this continues to play out, but I'm interested in what are your thoughts on WWE directly going against AEW during All Out weekend? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, like this video so more people can get involved in this conversation. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more wrestling content just like this. We try to provide a unique take on the news out there in the world, and we want to have these discussions with people that are like-minded wrestling fans and just want to have the awesome conversations that do evolve out of content just like this. So again, pardon the wrestling. I'm Bryan. Thanks for watching.